Okay, hello, beautiful soul from wherever you may be. I'm talking directly to you. Yes, you. Welcome to another Conscious Evolution broadcast. And today I brought some artifacts because today I want to talk about money. Well, this isn't money. This is money. And today we're going to talk about money. I'll get into why this is not money. But first, let's talk about the definition of money. Money is a means to an end. It is something that we can trade, something that has intrinsic value that you and I agree upon, that if you have something and I want that and you're willing to give it up for something else, we can use this money to make an exchange. This is just a means to an end. This is a silver dollar, and it's made of precious metal, silver. I am still learning how to convey what I know in my mind and how to eloquently put that out into the world, so bear with me. I might stumble over my words and not be able to say exactly what I mean, but I'm gonna try my best. And this is what I'm teaching myself right now, so just bear with me. So we have this means to an end. You have something you can offer me, a service or a physical object or something that I want. We can use this. We agree that this has value, intrinsic value. It's a precious metal. It can be used for things. And the value of it kind of, for the most part, is stable, steady. So yeah, this is money. This is not money. These little notes, this dollar here, used to mean something. We used to have gold in a vault. And this dollar was a representation or a note saying, okay, I have this dollar. This dollar equals a certain amount of gold in that vault. I can take this dollar. I can go to a bank or I don't know what back then, but I could go there, theoretically, I could go there, give this dollar and get that piece of gold or whatever precious metal. I could get the thing that has intrinsic value with this piece of paper. Now, I don't know what happened and how we got to this point. I'm gonna make some assumptions here, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. But I think that the US was misusing the precious metals, gold in the vault, and didn't actually have the amount that this dollar said that they had in vaults. And they had to do something because that would have caused, as time progressed, rumors started bubbling that the gold wasn't in the vaults. And the US had to do something. And our president at the time, Richard Nixon, decided he was going to take us off the gold standard. Well, who knows who made the decision? Maybe some shady people in the background, and he had to follow along because, you know, they're all compromised in some way. That's another assumption of mine. I shouldn't say that. But anyways, we were taken off the gold standard. And now this is just a piece of paper. And yes, you could argue that this has some intrinsic value. I could write a note on it that has value to me because I can use the note later to remember something. If I wanted to create some art, I could create some art on this. And that is the intrinsic value of this. It's just a piece of paper. But we can go even further because now money is not being printed in the sense of being put on paper. It's numbers on a screen. That's even less intrinsic value. I mean, paper, we could use it for things. You could start a fire with this if you needed a fire. But the only reason we think this is money is because the government tells us that it's money and we all trust it. It is not money. And if you knew how this is created, the levels, and if you knew the whole picture, you would truly know how sinister this is, because this is a pyramid scheme. They've taken us off the gold standard, and now we're in a debt-based system where, if I get all the facts wrong, please correct me. And I'm going to dumb this way down. There's more complexities to this, but I'm going to dumb this way down so that we can understand it better. The Federal Reserve is the people who print the money, and for some reason they're a private organization, supposedly not anything to do with the government, and yet the government right now, a huge multi-million-dollar building is being built on taxpayer money. Why does the government, why do we have to pay for something that is a private entity? Anyways, that's besides the point. Where was I before I went off on that tangent? Okay, so the Federal Reserve, they print this $1. They give it to a bank. I think there's Federal Reserve, central banks, and then the banks you go to, business, person. And I don't really know the intricacies of between Federal Reserve, central bank, regular bank. So I'm just going to put regular bank and central bank together. The Federal Reserve prints this dollar, gives it to a bank, and says, here, but you have to pay me back over a certain amount of time with interest. So if the Federal Reserve is the only one that can print this dollar, and they give it to the bank, but the bank has to pay back this dollar plus interest, how the heck does the bank pay back this dollar plus interest if this is the only dollar ever created? This is the first dollar that the Federal Reserve has ever given out. And that bank has to pay back, let's say, $1.02, $1.02 back over a certain amount of time. How does this 2 cents come about if the Federal Reserve only printed this dollar? Well, this is where the pyramid starts coming into play, because there's not just one bank and one business and one person, there's multiple banks. So as the Federal Reserve is giving this dollar to one bank, it's giving another dollar to another bank. So that creates more dollars, but more debt. So now 2 banks have to pay back $1.02. And how do banks make money? How do banks get from $1 to $1.02? Well, they loan out their money to businesses who produce things or give a service. And these businesses take on a loan. Again, they get, let's say the bank, instead of $1, they give the business a 10-cent loan, but you have to pay back 12 cents over a certain amount of time. So the business does their thing, they produce things, they give a service to people, and they also pay their employees. And that's how this whole thing starts going. And the only way for this whole thing to keep going, this pyramid scheme, is for the Federal Reserve to keep printing more money, which creates more debt in the system. And I lose my train of thought. Okay, I'm getting back to it. Let me just think about it for a second. It's okay to take pauses, to collect your thoughts. I'm telling myself this. See, I don't know, but this is why this is a thing about me. This is why I don't talk, because I lose my train of thought and I get caught up in it, and then I'm worried about what people think when I get caught up in my train of thought. And so that's what this thing is about, is to be better at speaking, keeping my train of thought, letting the words flow instead of getting all caught up in my mind. And also, it's okay when I get caught up. Like, it's not the end of the world. But anyways, so we're on money and the pyramid scheme of it all. So that is the sinister way that this whole pyramid scheme develops. The Federal Reserve has to keep printing more money, and the debt has to keep increasing. And that is the part that is so sinister, and we all don't know. We're all like at the bottom, just working our jobs, just trying to survive. But none of us know truly how this works. And if we all knew, I feel if we all truly knew how this worked, we would revolt. But we're all just, we don't think through things. We just try and live our lives, and the people that create the systems get away with so much, and they have amassed so much power through this pyramid scheme. And the only way for this pyramid scheme to keep going, like 100 years, 1,000 years, the only way for this whole thing not to collapse is that they keep printing money. More, not at a steady rate. They have to keep exponentially printing money. Because if they just printed at a steady rate, that would be, people would start to realize, because the debt that you have to pay will be too hard to pay back, and the whole thing would collapse. Because if there is just this amount of debt and they're putting out just a steady rate of money, then a car drove by and distracted me. I have an ADHD mind. But I think that's all I'm going to say about this, the non-money thing that we're working with today. But, so this is the Liberty Dollar, something that we used to use. And this is the Mercury dime. I hope this focuses, because it's really cool. That is Lady Liberty with wings on her head. And it symbolizes freedom of thought. Freedom of thought. Something that I'm afraid we're losing today. The freedom of thought. We're losing it more and more. You gotta take back your freedom of thought. And this is a beautiful symbol. Lady Liberty's head with wings. And then on the other side, which is another beautiful symbol. I hope this focuses. But it's an axe in the middle, and then around it is an olive bush, a bunch of olive branches wrapping around the axe. And the axe represents authority, and the olive branches represent us. The axe can't chop all the olive branches down, because the olive branches keep the axe in check. But also, the olive branches at a certain level let authority lead them. And I think that's what we need to learn. We need to learn a way in which we can allow our leaders to lead us, but also keep them in check. And right now, that is not happening. We are out of balance. Our leaders are way out of check. And I think it's through this money system is how we got here. Because power has been siphoned to the top through that pyramid scheme that I was talking about. And we need to figure out how to break out of that. Another thing that I wanted to talk about was how this is just a means to an end. This isn't the all be thing. This is kind of a signpost of wealth. We've mistaken this as wealth. This is not wealth. This is just a signpost, a little measure of what could be wealth. But in the world that we live today, the people that have the most of this, in my view, are the least wealthy, because they've mistaken this for wealth. The people that have obtained all of this thinking this is wealth, they are mentally ill. They're not wealthy. True wealth is realizing how beautiful. I have everything. Right now, in this moment, I am so wealthy because how beautiful that through this experience, I am learning, you are learning, and that is true wealth. Just think about it. In your mind, you might be thinking, oh, I need to get this because I need to get wealthy, but you don't need this. You have everything you need. The device that you are on right now watching this, you could learn anything. And that is mind-blowing. You have everything you need. You don't need this. This comes in handy sometimes. It's good at obtaining things that you want, but this isn't true wealth. This is just a signpost of wealth. And actually, today, the more of this that you have, I mean, the way that the world has gotten, the more of this that you have, the more mentally ill you probably are. Because you've cut yourself off from the world. You've gotten so cut off from the world that you have all of this, like, is more than anyone. But you look at a homeless person and you think they are that way because of themselves. No, they have to be there for you to be there. Do you understand? That's how the system works. The more powerless and the more that I'm getting caught up in my words again. The more that you are up here above everyone through this, the more that the people down here have to be lower and lower. And that's the thing. I wish that the people down here would take back their power. And their power isn't through this. Their power, they have so much power. We have so much power. I have so much power. And I'm finally realizing that. And I don't need this to use that power. And power not in a bad way, power in a beautiful way. Power can be good. So, I think that's all I want to say today about money. Thank you for listening. I hope you learned a thing or two. And if I got any of the little facts wrong, tell me.